Hi everyone, and welcome back to Season 8 of the Propcast. I'm Louisa Dickens, your host of the Propcast and co-founder of LMRE, the global PropTech recruitment and search consultancy. The aim of each episode is to introduce you to a PropTech innovator and discuss how their work has created a shift in focus when it comes to digitalizing the built environment. If you're interested in finding out more about PropTech or applying for a job in this space, or keen to know who the big players are that are moving and shaking the real estate industry, we have you covered. And we'll be bringing you an episode each week to connect you to the VCs, PropTech startups, and real estate professionals from around the globe. Today on the Propcast, we'll be discussing how to automate floor plans and appraisals. And we're joined by Jeff Allen, who is president of CubiCasa, as well as exec vice president, Innovation Labs for Clario Capital, Nikki Rinkus, who is a real estate agent with over 30 years value broking experience in Clario Appraisal Network. So welcome to the show, Jeff and Nikki.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Now, for those who don't know CubiCasa, it's a PropTech company headquartered in Finland. CubiCasa is a global market leader in mobile indoor scanning and is known for its fast and easy to use floor plan app on the App Store and Google Play Store. Now, today with Jeff and Nikki, we'll be discussing reasons why CubiCasa's technology is used in over 144 different countries. Yeah, it's a lot. And why it's also helped create over 1 million floor plans to date. Now, Jeff might correct me on what that number is. This is from my research I did the other night. Despite being headquartered in Finland, CubiCasa is a truly global business, which has come from good sales, product development, and acquisition, which obviously Jeff was involved in to ensure it maintains its competitive edge. Jeff will talk us through how they go about this and also talk about their future growth plans across different markets and the trends he's seen. Nikki, who's known Jeff for some time, who before Jeff hopped on to this podcast, I can just tell she's the biggest ambassador for this business. Now, she's got plenty of experience in real estate and also adopting tech. And as much as I know about the appraisal space, it's pretty slow when it comes out of all the verticals to adopt tech, nearly as slow as construction potentially. And we often hear the old saying, why fix something that ain't broke? However, Nikki, from what I gather, very much sees tech as an enabler. It's going to talk about how CubiCasa is solving problems you might have appraising real estate and how it enhances her job effectively. Now, some of you listening also might not realize how much tech is coming out of Finland, but it is growing. I looked at Unisu this morning, and if this stat is right, and this came from February 2022, there's over 191 PropTechs. When we were at Cannes MIPIM this year, we saw a huge amount of them as well as the Nordic PropTech scene is growing. So Jeff's going to talk us through why a business might look to launch out there and any trends he's seen. But enough from me. Hopefully that's given you a little bit of information about our guest today. So Jeff, why don't you talk us through your journey to the PropTech space in CubiCasa for our audience?
Yeah, happy to. So I've been involved in either real estate or mortgage appraisal for my entire career in the US. So basically, I've touched all different sides of the process. I've been involved in working directly with real estate agents on real estate data products. I've been involved in helping to manage the home valuation process tied to mortgages. But my role before I came to CubiCasa was running the R&D innovation lab at Clario Capital. Clario Capital is a US company that does home valuation data and analytics and services. And so was really testing out new technologies, new approaches to trying to collect property data in a more consistent and scalable and democratized way. And so, testing out a lot of different technologies, trying new things. And we were looking for CubiCasa before we knew CubiCasa existed. We were trying to find something that would enable anyone really to collect accurate property data and floor plan measurements without any training. That was the holy grail of what we were looking for. And then we kind of stumbled onto this Finnish company that had it.
Amazing.
It was truly mind blowing that, it existed. Number one, that it existed. And number two, that it originated in Oulu, Finland, which is not even Helsinki, right? It's a small town in northern Finland. So tested the technology, fell in love with it. It really is incredible. It's something that enables anybody with a smartphone to do a 5-minute walkthrough smartphone scan of a property and then receive back an accurate and detailed floor plan with square footage calculations, which is a real game changer for a lot of different industries. And so we just thought, it had so much potential for what we were doing in the States. And we loved the growth that they already had globally outside the States. So we made the acquisition, and then I was asked to run CubiCasa after the acquisition. And here we are.
Amazing. And now, Nikki, how did you meet Jeff? How did you come across the product? Because I don't know if you obviously found the product before Jeff in Finland.
No,
So how do you two know each other?
I did not. So I had kind of a long road to Clario, but about 6 years ago, I started working there, and they are a subsidiary of Clear Capital. And Jeff was working in the modern appraisal space and recruited me for one of his schemes, one of his pilot programs. And I think it was called MAP, right, Jeff? And
Modern Appraisal Program, MAP.
Basically, I think it was like about a 6-month project. And we tried all of these things, interesting things. At the time, it was using a kind of an app where you went through the property and took data points, and then it was generated by a staffer at Clear Capital and then given back to me. So, the idea being save a lot of time for the appraiser, so we could focus more on the valuation part and less on the data entry part. When CubiCasa came along years later, it was kind of just a culmination of everything I had seen Jeff working on all this time. So I was super excited to jump in again and do some piloting.
We'll go into a bit later about if everyone else who you work with was as excited as you. But before we do that for our audience, Jeff, can you go into a bit more detail about CubiCasa's product? Because there's obviously, it's for real estate, it's for appraisers, it's for developers. What's the differentiators between those three parts of it?
Yeah. So the product essentially works on any smartphone that's probably, 4 years old or less, right? So this is not just a iPhone LiDAR type product. This is anything that really is kind of a modern phone, Android or iPhone, that a user can essentially download the CubiCasa app and start using it with no training. So essentially, you just walk through the property, pointing your smartphone down where the walls meet the floor, and walk through the entire property room by room. Then the data that's collected and captured, the scan imagery, the accelerometer data, all this kind of insights that can be pulled out of that scan data is processed through our computer vision and proprietary tech stack, and ultimately then is reviewed by a human to make sure that we produce an accurate end floor plan result. And then delivered back to the user, within 6 to 24 hours is that detailed floor plan in a lot of different versions and property data as well, like bed and bath counts, square footage data, all of that stuff is available after the scan.
Hi, this is Vic Drummond from Blueprint, and we are excited to gather the leading innovators from the built environment this September 12th through 14th at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. Don't miss seeing over 2,000 of the biggest names in real estate tech across 3 days of high-level discussion and high-value networking. Check us out at blueprintvegas.com.
Nikki, can you share with the audience how long it would usually take to do something like that without CubiCasa or say another tech product out there?
I mean, it really varies because you could have what we call, basically a ranch style or cottage style house, and, one level rectangular would take pretty much about the same time. But you start getting into the complex properties and multi-stories, large, complicated architectural layout, and it can cut it by 3/4 of the time. So for me, that makes a big difference because, when
anyone, surely
when you're doing your work, time is money, right? And so it's very helpful, and also for accuracy. Sometimes you have to go back and double measure things when you're measuring with a laser, or I used to back in the day use a wheel. I mean, I know some appraisers are still using a tape measure where you actually need another person to. Yes, they're that stubborn. So I don't know. I just really feel that it kind of equates to the revolution of digital photography for our business, and at that time, I just remember feeling so liberated not to have to stand at the photo lab waiting for my photos and like pasting them onto a addendum and then having to put all that together. I was making an appraisal then was kind of like an art project. You had like almost a whole day into it. And now we can turn one around in 4 or 5 hours. So I think this is kind of one of the last hurdles that we've had, because now you can go completely digital. I walk into an appraisal inspection with just my phone, no pad of paper, nothing else, just the phone, and it does everything. So that's kind of what I dreamt about when I started, and everything has been slow for me. I've just wanted this to be here like 10 years ago. I can't even explain how exciting that is to me.
No, of course. Well, imagine you walked in 10 years ago to a property with just your phone, people would think you're mad, but hopefully it's become a lot more normal.
And they're still looking at, now they're like,
I'm sure they are. This kind of ties in really nicely to my next question, and this is for you, Jeff. So obviously you've helped CubiCasa go through obviously the acquisition. You're now running it. And those listening, when I say CubiCasa obviously in 140 countries, it's those countries are everywhere around the world. So it could range from obviously Finland, Australia, New Zealand, Vietnam, obviously the US. I mean, those countries are completely scattered. So are there any sort of trends you've seen in terms of tech adoption? And I'd also love to hear, are there any further growth plans or countries you're looking to launch in?
Yeah. So what's cool about CubiCasa is that the technology scales to different use cases and many different geographies. There's something fairly universal about, people live in homes or apartments, and there is a desire often to get, a floor plan representation of that, whether it's to list the property, whether it's to provide information to like a contractor, if you're trying to think about your, remodeling your kitchen, if it's for appraisals in the US or in other countries. It's really a general purpose technology that fits a lot of different use cases. So because of that, it has organically grown as a product in all sorts of surprising places. So for example, with very little effort, we've had quite the nice organic growth in Australia and New Zealand recently, where, people have recognized, hey, there's ways I can use this in the real estate listing process. And so that's what's really fun about it as a product, is that we don't have to think through necessarily for every individual country in the world or use case in the world, how do we customize it for this purpose? It really fits a lot of different needs.
I was doing some research the other day. Can you believe it that some of the biggest companies in the world didn't exist 30 years ago, the likes of Facebook and Uber? On the other hand, real estate is a total juxtaposition, being the oldest asset class in the world. We often hear about the property industry being a slow mover, and the need for PropTech is clear to improve solutions and take advantage of the data being gathered. We saw $21 billion in investment into PropTech in 2020, and it was predicted a further increase of 25% in 2021, which has already been surpassed, which means there'll be plenty to talk about when it comes to the innovation of the built environment. EY reported that 53% of real estate owners think that they don't have the in-house talent to adopt technology successfully. Without technology-minded talent and leadership, the implementation and widespread adoption of your product might be proving tricky. If that is the case, we are here to help. So head to our website, LMRE.tech, and we can find the right talent for your company's needs. Everyone talks about technology gets rid of the mundane task, but also you said there's always going to be that human component within your business who will actually look at the floor plans the technology's created. So that debate going on, is tech taking away people's roles? Surely it's not. Like, obviously it's helping Nikki to do her job, but it's also creating new ones. Would you say so? Or as a recruiter, am I just obviously going to say it's creating new jobs because I'm sort of that to support the LMRE?
You're biased in favor of jobs. Yes. Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. I mean, the technology isn't eliminating any jobs by any means. I think it's creating more efficiencies in the process so that the people we do have, are more efficient with their time. A lot of people, as Nikki's indicated, a lot of people spend a lot of time hand drawing floor plans, whether it's for appraisal purposes like Nikki or real estate purposes or insurance, it's just a major time suck, and it's easy to get wrong when you're doing it by hand. So We really think of this as something that just makes people more efficient, not something that reduces jobs.
Yeah. And Nikki, from your experience being actually right in it, what do you see in terms of people who are slightly hesitant to adopt these new methods? What can them say other to the founders listening in who want to get the real estate folk to adopt technology? What can we do?
Yeah.
So you always had an interest, but it's not for everyone.
Yeah, I've always been quick to adopt the new technologies, but I know that a lot of appraisers, there's a level of trust involved, and appraisers are slow to come to it. I mean, even me, when I was working in the modern appraisal program with Jeff, there were some things I was resistant to. I mean, I'm sure we could go back and look at that, and I'm not perfect as in that, but we're naturally a skeptical bunch. We want to check and double check everything. What I would say to them is go back in time and think about it. Do you want to go back to the cut and paste era of appraisals? Were you resistant to all of these things that we've had come up to this place, like the digital, just sketching in general? Yeah, you hand draw it in the field, you hand measure it. You would still have to go back to your office and then convert it to a digital file. I don't want to do that again. I don't want to go back to that. So I would say also what I did, if you don't trust it, is go for the first couple of weeks, go out and do your regular process and then use the scan process. It might take a little more time on the front end, but I think after a couple of weeks, and I've actually had these conversations with appraisers. After a couple of weeks, they were like, I don't know what I was thinking. This is a lot of times produced a better sketch than I could. So why did I resist so long? So I would say that to them, because I think that helps to give them that cushion space where they are double checking, and then they get over that hurdle of trust that they need to get over. And I think there's no looking back after that.
I think a lot of this, I was speaking about this in other podcasts, it also comes down from these businesses that run the big real estate consultancy firms, agencies, whether you're at JLL, CBRE, their heads of business really need to be encouraging their staff, their employees to use these techs out there. Now, I know there's other products out there that does something similar. I don't think there's big like Barry and Preo. I could be wrong, Jeff. But I think it very much, and obviously the market's big enough for there to be other tech products out there. But I think it hugely comes from the senior management say, hey, this works. Don't just do it the same way I told you to, 4 or 5 years ago or 10 years ago. Try this out, and just encourage a different way of sort of thinking and just working. Now, Jeff, I obviously mentioned a couple of competitors, or whether or not they are competitors, other businesses in the market. The market is, we saw quite a lot of M&A in the last year, a lot of SPACs. Don't know if the SPACs will continue to sort of happen. How does CubiCasa differentiate itself from its competitors in an ever-growing market?
The major things that set us apart are ease of capture of getting the data and information. So, there are other solutions out there in the world that enable you to collect property data or floor plans, no question. But the most common way, let's start with floor plans. The most common way to get floor plans for people is either to, number one, hand draw. That happens way too often, but let's set that aside. Is they'll get like a virtual tour, like an immersive, like Matterport dollhouse or Zillow 3D homes tour. I know that those are popular in Europe as well as the States. And from those, you can produce a floor plan. Or you can have a floor plan service, produce a floor plan for you from that. But the actual process of doing that is typically for a typical sized home in the United States anyways, which are obviously a lot bigger than they are in Europe. Typically, you're going to be scanning the house with special hardware. It's going to take you an hour. You're going to need specialized training, a tripod. It's not scalable or democratizable. So our process, obviously, everybody in the world already has a smartphone. So you don't need any new technology or hardware, and you're doing a 5-minute scan with no training. That's the major difference. For collecting property data, the most typical way that people do that is through like a mobile property data collection app where you walk through and say, okay, there's this many bedrooms, there's this many bathrooms, it's got this materials, and then, that property data becomes part of an appraisal. And that can be time consuming, just going step by step through the app, answering all these questions, takes a long time. Whereas you can, through the scan and computer vision, receive back that same property data accurately, again, with just that 5-minute process and no training. So that's really the differentiation we have. and what makes us unique.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And what also makes it unique is CubiCasa was originally founded in Finland. And obviously it's one of the fastest growing PropTechs out there at the moment. And I think CubiCasa also won the Nordic FinTech Award. Now, those listening in, you might not realize the Finland PropTech Association is ever growing. I obviously mentioned about the number of PropTechs coming out there. Jeff, could you tell the audience a little bit more about the Finland technology ecosystem, about maybe why it's founded there, what the huge amounts of, obviously, I guess, talented people that are and what's coming out of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, being from the States originally and myself not having a ton of exposure to the Finland PropTech scene before we found CubiCasa, I had no preconceived notions about any kind of Finnish PropTech scene. I didn't know there was one. Candidly, I wasn't even thinking about it. But when we found CubiCasa, we met the technical team and saw just how incredibly forward-thinking and skilled the whole tech team was. It was really impressive. And now that we've gotten to kind of get to know the local communities more, where, the CubiCasa team originated in Helsinki and in Oulu in Finland, we've really learned there's a huge pipeline of talent there. Really great technical talent coming out of the universities. There's something special about that pipeline of talent. They're very technical folks. They seem very comfortable with tech, really good at programming and coding. And there definitely is a thriving PropTech scene there. Jarmo Lumpus is our co-founder of CubiCasa and our director of global business development. He's really kind of our ambassador to the Finnish PropTech scene. And by all accounts from Jarmo and the different things that we're involved in Finland, it really seems to be growing pretty significantly.
Yeah. I also noticed the PropTech Finland, they're hosting like an event about how to for the PropTechs to expand to the US. Obviously, a lot more sort of growth we're going to see, obviously coming from Europe, going to the US. And, likewise, we've all seen companies like BTS, H2O, and so forth all expanding to Europe as well. So it's exciting times for the whole ecosystem.
Hi, I'm Anthony Slumbers from the Real Innovation Academy, home of the Future-Proof Real Estate course, designed to accelerate your real estate career. To learn more, please visit realinnovationacademy.com/LMRE for details and a 25% discount.
Nick and Jeff, we are nearly at the end of the podcast, but how we finish off is the LMRE part. L is where you touch upon a main lesson you've learned throughout your career. M is please give a mention to anyone or product service, just a shout out. R is what's been the most rewarding aspect of working in this space. And E, what you're most excited about for the future of PropTech. So who would like to go first?
I'll go and I'll let Jeff finish since, he can finish stronger. I would say my biggest lesson is to just be adaptable, be open to change, because you just really never know what's coming around the corner. You have to embrace it. My shout out, of course, would have to be to CubiCasa, because it's been a real paradigm shift in my workflow. Rewarding just being able to use the technology in the appraisal space and see how it's made the process more reliable and streamlined. And because I've just wanted it for so long and finally feel it's here. And then I'm excited to see the appraisal forms go from the static format that we've had for the last 19 years to a more logic-based cloud environment that's coming in the new UAD form. It's kind of a boring appraisal thing, but that's
There's a great listening and we'll get it.
Yeah, that'll be happening in like 24, I think, hopefully, fingers crossed. And that should change things. That should be the next big shift that we really need.
Awesome. Right, Jeff, finish it off.
All right. Main lessons I've learned throughout my career. Just be nice to people and good things will happen. If you treat people well and you genuinely try to build real relationships, not just transactional relationships, good things happen. A mention to anyone. I'm going to flip it around. I'm going to give a mention and a shout out to Nikki for all of her many years of testing out crazy stuff for us. CubiCasa being no different. She's got a really open mind and we love and appreciate that. R, what has been the most rewarding aspect of working in PropTech? I would say it's the fact that PropTech touches something universal and important to everybody in the world, and that's where they live. That's fun. The idea of I don't know, working in an industry like, let's say, zinc mining sounds boring and terrible. I don't care about that. But the idea of being part of something that's trying to make, buying and selling homes or renting apartments or dealing with just properties and especially residential properties is a really fun thing. And what am I most excited about in the future of PropTech? I think AI and computer vision are already making an impact, but it's just getting started. The exponential growth in capabilities that we're going to see in computer vision, machine learning, data science, we're just getting under the hood on that. And I think the whole industry is going to see a really exciting growth of new technologies here in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I would agree with all of that. I also liked your part about lessons learned about being kind to people. I'm a strong believer in that. And I think if you're kind to people, we're here to introduce or recommend businesses and give people the time of day to sort of learn and understand. And I don't know, for my friends in other sectors, it doesn't seem as willing to share or open or willing to help. So in their industries, I'm saying. So that's what I do love about this PropTech space, whether I'm at an event in the US, in Europe, obviously going out to APAC soon, but I'm sure it'll be similar out there. So no, completely agree with that. But I also love to say, congratulations. This product sounds very easy to use, which everyone wants, quick as well, and accurate. So those listening in, check it out. It will make your lives a hell of a lot easier as well and make your job a lot better. Nikki, thank you so much for joining the show. It's great to hear someone who's using the tech the whole time and proving that it works. It's
my pleasure.
Important. And Jeff, obviously, congrats on your growth, and I'll catch up with you both after the show.
Thanks, Louisa.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us this week on the Propcast, and a big thanks to our guests and our sponsors, CreTech and ReamTech. Make sure you visit our website, lmre.tech, where you can subscribe to our newsletter, keep up with our industry news and events, or if you're looking for your next career move, it's all on there. The Propcast can be found on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube, where all good content is found. Whilst you're at it, if you found value in the show, we'd appreciate it if you could spread the word and tell a friend about it, or even write us a review. And I'll catch you next week.
Making high-quality podcasts like this takes a lot of work. That's a fact. But not when you hire Copus. With our white glove experience, we handle everything for you, from guest outreach all the way through publishing and promotion. We handle it all. You show up to hold great interviews like these and build relationships with your guests. We take care of everything else. Podcasting is not just about the audience. Every podcast interview is the start of a brand new relationship. With a weekly podcast, you would build relationships with 52 ideal partners or prospects through podcast interviews over the next 12 months. Do you believe 52 new relationships could grow your business? We do. Why not contact me today, jason@copus.com, JASON@KOPUS.com, and let's talk.